and I'm teaching the 7-year-olds in primary, and I don't need all your help at teach. And I would like you to stay out of my classroom because I got a lesson to give. This is different. We're cooperating, and we have no ownership, and we have no pride, and I'm so grateful that you have a connection with this organization. That's a little bit different, isn't it? Because we kind of want to go, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. In this, we're sharing, and I'm really grateful that my high counselor knows somebody at the high school, and they're going to have a project, and they need volunteers. I'm thrilled, because it's for the greater good.
Okay.
And so we want to maintain those relationships.
So the Relief Society president has a very unique ability to be able to be inward facing, where the Stake Just Serve specialist is often most effective outward facing, meaning going out into the community and being the one to schedule a time to go visit with the food pantry and see how we can best support them and post their project. But a Relief Society president is much more aligned in those responsibilities to be able to go throughout the stake and share the message of Just Serve and be able to introduce Just Serve to the members and ask them to do things that it's more appropriate to come from the Relief Society president or presidency than it is to come from a Just Serve specialist, as it may be seen as this Just Serve specialist is trying to tell members what they have to do or what their job is. Pat.
So is it part of like board conference? Do you want to educate everybody, or do you want them to go in to like a Relief Society or a Fifth Sunday?
Yes. So let's address that. So again, where do we want to start with getting that direction? We want to start with our priesthood leaders. Everything that we do should be aligned with what the vision of the priesthood leaders and our stake president is for that particular situation. So it needs to be, that's our starting point, to say how could we best get this word out? And we're going to get a different answer from every single stake president that we ever ask that question to, and that's absolutely right, because that stake president has the keys, and we need to honor those keys and we need to follow those keys. And so then it could be, okay, what are our options? Our options may be a Fifth Sunday. Our options may be in a ward conference. Our options may be
a sacrament talk. Whatever your priesthood leader says.
We use the example for, yes. We got to get you in the middle. Yeah.
Okay, so I am the Relief Society in the Relief Society presidency in our stake. So one of the things we've decided that we're going to do during our women's conference next month is we are going to have a Just Serve opportunity.
Project.
We'll have the service in the gym, then we'll have a Just Serve opportunity, so we can talk about that secondarily. That's how we're going to try to do it. We've done Fifth Sundays. When we educate new Relief Society presidencies, we always talk about it. We talk about it often. But I want to ask about when you're talking about connecting with the participating organizations versus the Just Serve specialist, and they're going out and having those conversations, but then you also said as the working group, then we all could then do some of those.
Yep.
The direction we were kind of getting from our Just Serve specialist was that it was to be a ongoing long-term commitment. But then I heard you talking about the high school has some needs. What are your thoughts on the value of setting up something that is a one-time versus a long-term relationship?
Okay.
So
to be the most beneficial.
Yeah, we need both.
Okay.
We need both. So we want the types of projects, and we're going to get to this in a minute, but
okay.
we want the types of projects that can be like the one time, let's all go this one Saturday and paint the Catholic Church, because that's what their need is. But we also love the ones of, hey, we're going to the senior center, not we, literally we, but we're asking for people to come to the senior center every Tuesday and help them with some things. So ongoing versus one at a time. We want a nice balance.
Okay.
And when we say we're going to use our working group to meet people and to share, remember we're talking about sharing. And so your working group is introducing you to their friends and they're bringing that relationship to you. So we don't want to take the relationship from them, but we do if we're going to put it on Just Serve. Not everybody can post projects on Just Serve. So we want them to share the relationship with you and open the door, just like you're opening the door for your communication director to accomplish things. So we're really, Brian said it wasn't one of the C's, but we're cooperating, we're collaborating, we're communicating about what's going on. So we're not in a silo, we're working together as friends.
One quick comment relative to a place where we've seen relief societies really do a great job. And we have a son that lives in Albuquerque, and so we go to Albuquerque frequently to visit our son. And
Not in the North America Central area.
yeah, not in our area. But
Southwest.
the Stake Relief Society goes on Just Serve, and they identify a project that they want to highlight. And then they send the QR code to the Ward Relief Society president, and the Ward Relief Society president print that out on just an 8.5 by 11, and sitting on the table right here is in a clear stand-up stand that changes out each Sunday is a particular Just Serve project that the Stake Relief Society president would like to highlight. And sometimes it's like, hey, if we all go, then we have people from different wards kind of collaborating together, interacting together. But most importantly, it just heightens the awareness of Just Serve. And so
It's not a command, like, hey, everybody, go to this and do it. They know, they've been like conditioned that this Just Serve project's there, and maybe this one will appeal to your whole family, or maybe it's just for you on a Wednesday morning, but it just gives ideas of what's out there.
And so even for Sundays where it's a Sunday school Sunday,
It's still sitting up there.
it's still there. And so that's an example of a great way where a Stake Relief Society team can highlight, promote, and encourage participation in Just Serve.
Let's get into a little bit more about Relief Society presidents and what you're bringing to the table. So you've already talked about, we said you have a lot of power because you're on that state council, so you can bring in the others for that working group by introducing Just Serve and letting them know how to do it. Introduce stake members, we've talked about that, whether it's on a fifth Sunday, it's individual meetings, on visits, when you go to Relief Societies. Encourage individuals, families, quorums, classes, and wards to give community service. If you're giving us a talk, that's a great opportunity. You don't have to specifically say go to this Just Serve project, but the value of service and how we do serve the Lord's children. And then use your state Just Serve specialist as a resource.
And I think I would also add that sometimes it's important just to send the message of, hey, there's an app that you should have on your phone, because if on a given Sunday, if we went out and said how many members have the Just Serve app on their phone, we would be surprised at how low it is. And so encouraging members to pull their phone out, download that app, and familiarize themselves with Just Serve on their phone.
This is the one Brian mentioned of a way to get that out, sharing that. Because this is how to motivate members and communities. We can't do what we don't know about. That's one motivating thing. If I don't know about Just Serve, I'm for sure not doing it. The other is to point out the blessings of Just Serve whenever you have the opportunity to bear testimony of service. So blessings of service more than Just Serve. We're talking about the overarching principle of giving service. Not go to Just Serve, go to Just Serve, that's not what we're doing. But the overarching.
I really love it when Relief Society sisters, when they're talking about Just Serve and encouraging Just Serve, is to remind everyone that we shouldn't go to Just Serve projects alone. We should take our friends and neighbors with us. This is an opportunity for us to reach out and invite others to come with us as we go and serve, and let them see how we serve. And so it's great when when we go, as a family. It's great when a handful of sisters or the elders quorum gets together and they go do that. It's even better when we're picking a project that we can take non-members with us and invite them to serve.
Who went to, one second, who went to the mom's tour? Anybody?
2,
Do you,
3.
You two. Who, so more than 3 of you volunteered. Where'd you get your other volunteers?
Relief Society, through
Awesome.
the Relief Society.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
I love it. So it's not just a Just Serve thing. So we have a Mom's Tour event in Denver next weekend, and I'm taking my best friend who's a non-member, and she's a midwife, was a midwife, and so this Mom's Tour is right up her alley, and she's so pumped up and excited because I've really sold it. But this is an opportunity. I'm not trying to convert my best friend, but I want her to have fun doing something in service. And it's right up her alley. So you can see how we can bring others along with us.
Bev had a comment. And
Yes, go ahead.
We
And then
got
you.
through our Omaha one, I mean, I visited with every single one of the vendors
Uh-huh.
to see if they were nonprofit, what are you? I mean, I've got 7 that we can work with.
Oh, that's, see.
But it's not just my stake, I mean, it's the other
Yeah.
stakes as well. And so that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Awesome. So you actually made
Yeah.
contacts there at the service project. She's enlarging her scope because she's met people there. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and this didn't come from the stake level, but one of our relief societies for an activity, they had like 6 service projects. They weren't all from Just Serve.
No,
but
they don't have to
picked
be.
6 projects. They had someone come up and kind of bear testimony, share their experience, and then they had a sign-up sheet afterward. And that was the most motivating one for me of anything I'd been to. It was like hearing somebody who was really excited about it, because it's exactly like you said, we're busy and we don't think to do it until you see someone else who's done it and loved it, and others are signing up, and you can do it at the time. So anyway, it was such a great thing, and we want to just encourage other relief societies maybe to do the same thing. So
I love that. If there's bearing testimony, it doesn't have to be of Just Serve. Service in general, and how when we get outside ourselves, how we feel the Savior's love for ourselves and his love for others as individuals. Hearing that testimony is very motivating. So you don't have to wait for the bishop to call you and say, will you give a talk on service? You can bear your testimony of service anytime.
we were at our bishop's house because his parents had served in our mission, and they were in town visiting, and so we went to see this senior couple that had served with us, and our bishop's wife. This older couple asked what we're doing, and we told them we had a role in Just Serve, and our bishop's wife, okay, this is Denver, Colorado. Our bishop's wife had never ever heard of Just Serve. And this is just like 6 months ago, okay? And we're like doing, so that.
And we're up here going,
yeah.
I don't know how she missed the show.
So she said, what is Just Serve? We told her what Just Serve is. And she's like, wow, I can't believe I've never heard of it. She is our ward activities chairperson. She went on that day, and created a Just Serve account. And she called and said, hey, I just signed up, and for a ward activity 2 weeks from now, we're going to do a Just Serve activity. The next week, she grabbed me at church and she said, Brian, I just have to tell you that I had not the greatest spiritual experience that I've ever had in my life, but probably the greatest spiritual experience that I've had in the last 3 to 5 years in preparing and doing this particular activity. This is an amazing woman, amazing family, and for her, participating in this was a tremendous spiritual experience. And that's the testimony that we want everybody to be able to have about Just Serve as they go and see what happens in the community when we lift and we share our Savior's love.
So what they say, what do they say? Come and see. So if you're stuck, you're having a hard time getting buy-in from a priesthood leader or a Relief Society president, your family, your friends, your neighbors, come and see. Instead of go and lecture, Like, you need to be doing this. It's in the handbook. Why aren't you doing this? Come with me to a project. Come see how much fun we have. Come see how it feels to serve. That's what we're doing, is inviting to come and see.
Okay, we're gonna skip through this.
Yeah.
I'll just comment.
Counselor.
We're super big fans of missionary work. We're super big fans of service. And when you bring those two together, just amazing things happen. So please don't skip past the role and the importance of our full-time missionaries participating in this service. When they have purposeful service, when they're going to someplace and they're not just out wasting time trying to find something to do, great things happen. Okay. I think we.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Okay, you got it.
So let's talk about your working group and how they're helping you, but this also goes with your projects. So we know that if we have a lot of projects, we go out to all the organizations and we're like, give me your projects, I gotta get this posted, we can help you, we can do all these magical things, which we don't do. We don't commit, right? You're not committing. Like, I promise I'll have 5 volunteers, we can't do that. But they've given us their projects, but then there's no volunteers. That's not gonna work.
Likewise, if we have we got all of our volunteers excited, everybody's ready to go, and then they run to the Just Serve website and there are no projects, then we have a problem as well. Because they're like, hey, there's nothing that speaks to me, or there's nothing to choose from. So we want to find this balance.
So any ideas? How do you find this balance? No ideas.
No,
That was my
thinking, we're
question at the
thinking.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're thinking.
Okay, so I'll give you a hint. On the project side, we gave you one idea, which is to work with your working group, and everyone in the working group is going to go find 1 or 2 projects. And here's where the ongoing projects can be helpful, because if we put just 1 project on for next Saturday, it might be hard to get the word out for next Saturday. Maybe it's next month. But then it's gone and it's over. So we're not opposed to those at all. Those are super awesome. But we also want to have a nice amount of projects. And to have a nice amount, it's going to be something like going and helping weed at St. Vincent de Paul Garden, or helping at the thrift store, or helping at the food pantry on a regular basis. And I don't mean you are going on a regular basis. I mean, we're looking for volunteers to go. And someone's going to go next Tuesday, and someone's going to go Tuesday 6 weeks from now. Not having the same old person do everything. We're looking for a variety. So that's how to get projects. How do we get the volunteers? Universal question.
I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but we kind of did it just this week. Our daughter was telling us that Heartland Hope needed 150 volunteers for next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did go ahead and request through the state, to the wards and bulletin program people to see if we could get some volunteers. And the thing was, this is Heartland Hope. They had been on Just Serve, but when I went to look for them, they weren't on there anymore. And so I thought, well, maybe this way we could generate some interest in it. And then I did do it was at this little truck thing. It was at all the Hy-Vees and certain locations. And so I did request to another stake to see if they might be able to, request people. But
So that's not inappropriate.
is that okay?
She mentioned 3 things. I've already lost the third. 1, she invited. She invited people to put it on their bulletin and invited people to join in the fun. She did not dictate. I love that. It's an invitation. She got the word out. 2, she collaborated. She said, this is outside my stake. It's in a different stake. So she went and said, I have this opportunity. Would you like to do this? She invited collaboration by communicating. I think that's huge. That's key. And the third, it's come back to me. The third is you really maximized that opportunity by you saw a need from an organization who said, hey, you're not on Just Serve. Being on Just Serve could really help you. Notice I said could really help you. And so she invited them, like maybe you might want to think about using Just Serve because it connects you to volunteers. So she maximized this hardship.
I'd like to shift and talk relative to finding volunteers to one area that's we always like to think of as the low-hanging fruit, and that is our youth. When we involve the youth, and when we find ways to go out and invite the youth, a couple magical things happen. One is youth never come alone. The youth can rally 10 people to come with them in about 30 seconds. And so when we're able to tie into the youth, then that is a magnifying type of resource. The other thing is within the schools, often we find that there are school organizations. It could be National Honor Society, it could be the football team, it could be the leadership class that require a certain amount of service. And so often youth, they're happy to go serve, they just don't know where to find those service opportunities. We want to find ways to expand the visibility of Just Serve with the youth. And so we can start with the youth that we have within the church, or we can have our stake Just Serve specialists find an opportunity to reach out to the schools and find out what clubs and organizations require service, and simply passing to them the information regarding Just Serve. You can print out or have some stickers printed up that you make available that have justserve.org. Maybe it's a one-page fact sheet of what Just Serve is and what type of projects they can find. But if we want to expand our volunteers, the fastest way to do that is to brainstorm with your working group of how we can reach youth. And
That
what
includes young adults.
Oh yeah, young adults, absolutely.
We're more like 35 and lower.
But that is a great opportunity for the working group to come together and to look at how they can solve that problem or that situation.
Okay, so what are the key elements of success? Ta-da! Priesthood support. It's really number one.
Well, and so let's comment on that just briefly. You can't go in and dictate to your priesthood leaders that they support and they have to do this or they have to do that. So what are some ways that in a kind and loving manner we can encourage priesthood leadership support?
While you're thinking, I will tell you an example of a Just Serve specialist who called and she said, I have X number of stakes that have vacancies. And I just went into my area 70 and I said, you need to get all these stake presidents. And then I knew 3 of those stake presidents. I called them and I said, you have to call someone. And I go, no. I said, we don't do that. She was like, but, I said, we don't. We don't. So what can we do?
It's really important to just listen to your stake president first and help you understand what his goals are, like you were talking about before. I mean, I would suggest just making an appointment with the stake president and work with your communication director too, and just asking those questions. What are your problems? What are the things that keep you up at night? What are the things that you're most worried about in your stake? And just write those things down and leave, and don't say anything else.
Yeah.
Leave the meeting, go home, and come up with some things later. But make sure you understand his dilemmas before you try to throw stuff at him.
I love that.
And all we can do is invite, right? That is our role, is to invite. The other thing is, everybody loves to hear success stories. Nobody wants to hear additional work that needs to be dropped on them, but when you share success stories, when you share how this can actually lift burdens off of priesthood leaders, then our chance of success goes way up. President, anything you would add or comment on relative to gaining priesthood support that would offer hope?
What I can say, what I can testify of is that your stake presidents and your stake presidencies care so much about helping your members and those in your community come closer to Christ. And they have to, there are a lot of, it's one work, but there are a lot of sort of, not silos, we don't have silos, but there are a lot of things to focus on. There are a lot of different components. And just be patient as they work with the Spirit to determine what the right focus and the timing and the resources to allocate when and where. And I love what Sister Chapel shared about listening and figuring out through the Spirit, like what the optimal role of Just Serve and all of that is in your stake. And there is an optimal role, and you'll figure it out together with the Spirit. And they'll be so grateful when your stake presidency will be so grateful when you come and say, well, I know you're really concerned about, strengthening the faith of the rising generation in Christ. If it would be helpful, here's a thought, or I could share a few thoughts if you'd ever like, and then your success stories. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love those comments, and I can testify that is what we hear across the board, and it is the Lord's work. So all of this will come together in His time. So while it might feel frustrating that you have a vision for Just Serve and it's not aligning with your priesthood leaders today, it's the Lord's timing, and it will all come together for His good in His time. You had a comment, Dennis?
Yeah, I'm sensing, at least for me anyway, a little bit of a paradigm shift here, okay? And it's a lot of those things come from the head of the house, okay? But the idea that it's a resource, not a program, I think is a big deal, all right? Because when we go to our priesthood leaders, and it's President Melissa there, yeah. We want to offer them a resource to help them with what they're doing. And I think that whole concept, because I heard it from you, Sister Cox, earlier, and my wife echoed it pretty hard back here. I think that's a great way to think about it.
It's a resource for the organizations as well. So when we're trying to figure out, and we'll come back to how do we get in the door of some of these organizations, when they see it as a resource and that we're only there to help them, then whether it's here, whether it's there, as we continue to focus that as a resource, then we're winning.
Yeah, we had, just a minute here. We tried to get into the Elkhorn school systems, all right, with Just Serve. And I think at first it was presented like this is a program, the church has put this together, and I think that was the wrong approach, because as soon as they heard the church had something to do with it, done.
Yeah.
Right, we want nothing to do with you. But if we go back and we offer it as a resource for your students to use, and for the head of your organizations to use this to help them, that might make it a little easier to get in the door that way.
More palatable.
Yeah.
Although I did not say anything about it being church affiliated.
Yeah.
But they did go on the website and see that the church put it together. So
maybe we'll talk a moment, we'll put on the board, but we can talk about how to address the church's role in this, because there's a very important way to be able to introduce that.
We had an aha moment at the Moms Tour. Our state president, we invited him to come, and then the leader of the church where we held it was there. Anyway, they came together and they visited, and then I was visiting with our state president a little bit while he was still there mingling, and he said, do you realize what just happened? And I said, I do. I want to know if you know what just happened. And he said, one of their goals for this year, our state president, is for every member in our state to at least ask. If you know about the church, do you blah, 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 or by your example? And he said, I have seen about 15 sisters here get that taken care of. All in one thing. And I thought, I got him on board. He's on board. He's so good. He is so good. So it has been a cakewalk with him since then, because he saw it.
Yeah.
And he came.
And he came.
Yeah, he was there.
And he got to participate.
Yeah.
And he says, and is it okay we exchanged phone numbers and everything? And I said,
Wonderful.
yeah.
That's the bridge being created.
One of the things that I've brought up, as I've talked to people about it, is that there are so many non-members out there who go to Family Search because it's free.
Yeah.
And they can do the genealogy there, and they love it. And I can say, it's free because someone else is.
Yeah.
This is another gift, like Family Search. You can use it, it'll always be there, and it will always be paid for, so it will never cost you anything.
What she just said is the absolute best thing that you can say, and it is absolutely from the highest level of the church, the exact answer that they would want us to give about the church's role in Just Serve. The church invests the money. It's crazy expensive to have the type of website that can do everything that this is doing and update it, and they're moving it to the cloud. The church will spend in excess of $1 million just in supporting the technology side of Just Serve. And it's our gift. It's a humanitarian gift that the church makes. And we have no other ministerial, no other expectation, no other proselyting objective with Just Serve other than for the church to provide that as a resource to bring and connect that bridge in the community. And so thank you for sharing that. That's
a great answer to that question. And along with that, just to give you some other like little facts, some tidbits, is that there are many volunteer websites that you can go to. Volunteer Match, AmeriCorps, some cities have them. They all cost something. It costs to post, or it costs to join, it costs to see it. This is always going to be free. We don't charge for any single thing. And here's the crazy thing. You all have a calling that has to do with Just Serve. 3,000 people are out there doing this. They don't get paid. There is no organization, no volunteer organization that has 300 people and a one-on-one contact. You can join Volunteer Match, you can pay your fee. You will never have one-on-one. You will never have a volunteer match consultant who reaches out to you and helps you in any way, like you guys all help your people. There's
perfect.
1,000 comments, and I want to hit them all because we love them.
So I work very closely with a lot of nonprofits in the area, and I don't know, this is so timely because they had a huge conference in Omaha of a lot of nonprofits and organizations that serve the community, and their number one thing is they don't have people to come volunteer because people don't know about them, or they don't know how to get connected. But all of these organizations are so in need of volunteers and people to come, and I think this is a great time to go to those organizations and say, here's a free solution, and we don't want anything from you.
And thank you for the boost to our confidence, right? Because all of us are like, oh, I'm like asking for something. I'm like, oh, maybe perhaps, would you maybe consider, I don't know. and that's how we feel, like, oh my gosh, I don't know, please don't reject me. When what we're actually saying is, I have great news for you. I have a fabulous service. You know how you need volunteers? I can help you reach all the volunteers. And they're like, wait, what? So we just need to have a little more confidence. Like, I'm bringing a free service. I'm a connector. Not, oh, maybe will you maybe listen to me because like I need something from you. I need to post a project. No, that's not what I'm saying.
You know, one element of Just Serve is that you actually can track an individual's service, right? And you get a report, which is a pretty cool thing. You can use that if somebody, you know, has to do it for the court system or schools. There was a college up in Canada, a Catholic school. They wanted to use Just Serve as their platform for all of their students to go find a service opportunity. But the report that printed out that the students would have to turn in had the Church of Jesus Christ very little at the bottom of it. And they said, yeah, that's a game break, that's a showstopper for us. I can kind of understand that, right? I mean, and so our specialist contacted Gina. Gina worked with headquarters, and we actually got headquarters to remove that off the report So, because we said we don't need that on there. There's no value of having the church's name on that particular report, and it could cause a problem in the court system if somebody, had to do so much for community service. And so we were able to get them to remove that. It's you actually have to go search for the church's involvement. It's on there on the, a couple spots, as it should be.
And
but
that's
it's
not going to go away. We're not getting it taken off the website.
Yeah.
Don't get any great ideas.
But okay, we got lots of comments.
Wait, well, let's finish the comments and then we'll do that last.
Okay, because
Where did you say that they took it off?
of the report of the individual's report of service that you can, yeah, okay, yes,
Okay. I'm back on the Just Serve Working Group.
okay,
Okay, I'm Stake Relief Site President. I meet with the missionary committee once a month. So there are stake presidents there, 2 zone leaders, and a lot of times the mission president. This has never occurred to me that I could bring up Just Serve in this meeting, right? Can I?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Are they required to do Just Serve, the missionaries?
I'm so glad you asked.
so the answer is missionaries, the Missionary Executive Committee likes missionaries to do up to 10 hours of service a week. And the mission president, the mission leaders, are the ones that determine exactly how much service their missionaries are going to do, and they determine where they find that service.
What that looks like.
Miriam, we're working with President Callaway right now on that.
Okay.
And so we actually have ongoing training that we do with the mission leaders, where we help them see that Just Serve is a source. And it's not the only source, but it should be a source of where they can go to find a big source. We have some missions where it's the only source. We have some missions where it's not a source at all. But for the most part, most of the missions in the North America Central area utilize Just Serve for the missionaries to find service opportunities, and which increases the volunteers. We don't want to promise or guarantee missionaries are going to be there, but it's great for everybody. Everybody wins when our missionaries are using Just Serve. Okay? Great question. Yes?
I'm nervous to make this comment because I don't want it to come across wrong. But looking at the working group, first thing I want to say, President Melissa is wonderful at including our area. So this is not church related in that sense. But when you're looking at the working group, make sure you're reaching out to those who aren't in your normal area. So like I said, I'm in a town of 60 people. Rural is completely different. I work for a nonprofit that's nationwide, and I oversee 6 counties that are extremely rural. So I go to these meetings in Kansas City or those things, and we leave, and the first thing we say is they have no idea how this works in a rural area. They have no idea what our needs are. They have no idea how they can help us. So just please, when you're thinking about some of those additional people to add to the work groups, think outside your normal, doing things like President Melissa is really wonderful at doing Zoom meetings, because it is hard for us to travel and to get to where we need to go. Another thing that works for us on the work end of it is having like a G drive that we can all share stuff with, so that when we have time, we can just get on there and see, are there flyers, are there trainings, are there these things, that's not constantly like being emailed at us. But just, it is such a different way of life in smaller communities, or maybe in communities that may be, majority Hispanic, or maybe a majority of Asian, their culture is different, things are that. So try just to think outside who you normally have involved in these groups and reach out to those really outlying places.
I think that's a very good segue into a conversation of how can we be effective in those rural communities.
When we talk about rural communities, all of us, and sometimes we see ourselves as like a little bit of us versus them. Like we in Omaha are not like others. We're a lot more alike than we'd like to admit. They have many of the same issues that you have. And all of us have wards or stakes that are far-flung, spread out, that are not in a city center. So they don't have a government organization that we're going to go hit up and say, what projects do you have? So I'd love for you to throw out, imagine you live in, where do you live?
Carlton, Nebraska.
She lives in Carlton. She's already told us that there are
60.
60 people. 60 people.
And if your family moved out, that'd be,
My mom would joke when we moved in, you doubled the population.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So, all of us have associations with people, wards that are in these far-flung areas. Where can they look for projects? Let's start there. Where are we going to find projects? They don't have a city center. Because I get this all the time. I'm not in a city center. We have no projects.
I worked for a number of years with Head Start and Early Head Start through community action partnerships. They are in every segment of Nebraska. We have within our stake about, I think we have 3 different ones represented. And those are often in the smaller communities. So, for example, when we're doing projects where we gather items, there's a community action partnership that's Head Start that's based in Beatrice. There's one in Seward, in our smaller communities that serve those populations.
Okay, so I'm going to use some of these ideas. Our brainstorm right here, I'm just adding them. I don't want to erase our questions, but I'm going to add them. So what she's talking about is government agencies, they still fit.
These are government agencies.
Right, but they're the outreach.
But they're they're where the Head Starts are located across the state. So
Yeah.
okay.
So just because you don't have the government in your backyard, you have many agencies that provide services for the umbrella government, but they provide them on the local level. So finding out what there is locally, like Head Start, Healthy
So across
Start.
Nebraska, if you put in community action programs, you will find.
Okay, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's,
what else do we-
yes.
What about schools?
Schools is great. We have schools in all of those areas. What else?
Keep going.
What, say loud?
Elderly services.
Okay, so,
Elderly, so whether it's a senior center or an actual service, a meal delivery system,
perfect.
Just some kind of outreach to elderly,
Okay,
rides,
what else?
that.
Parks? And maybe we just need to find out who oversees the parks and make sure, see if we can
Beautification.
post a project to clean those up.
Or if they have something coming up, like they're installing benches, they're spreading mulch, for the season.
Museums too.
Museums.
Museums?
Cemeteries.
Cemeteries are great, right? This is a good list.
Libraries.
So one of the things that I hear over and over as I talk to individuals that have lots of rural communities in their area and they're looking for projects is the importance of relationships. Because as we go out into these smaller communities, it really becomes about relationships, doesn't it? They want to know who they're dealing with. And everybody knows everybody. And so we have to be able to be somebody that is personable. We have to be responsive. We need to build their confidence that we are going to be able to have a benefit for them, that there is a value in them interacting with us and listening to what Just Serve. And that doesn't always come on the first visit. Sometimes we have
By talking.
we have to build that over time, right?
Like show.
So we need to be able to build those relationships and establish that rapport. And sometimes it's finding a member of the church that is in that community that does have a connection. So it may not be
Youth.
Yeah.
Missionaries. Missionaries are riding their bikes. They're riding their bikes around that particular area, and they might notice a food pantry that you didn't know about, another church. Go ahead.
Yeah?
I too work for a nonprofit. All nonprofits have board of directors, they have board meetings, and those board people are involved in all kinds of things within
Yeah.
the community. So whether you or someone else knows.
Yeah, they're wearing
someone
lots of hats.
On a board.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways that you can connect with them and build on relationships that way to get to know your community.
For sure.
So again, I think we miss sometimes that a member of the bishopric or a member of the Relief Society presidency may have lots of relationships in those communities, but we're not tapping them because we think, oh, they're already busy. And we're not necessarily wanting to make them more busy. We just want to visit with them and see who they know, what relationships, what they might suggest.
Introduction.
And then we take that burden off of them, or they do the connection, they open the door and help us establish that. That's how we really grow and benefit rural communities.
And
Given that we only...
goes to, Brian, what you just said goes to how do we get in the door with these organizations? It's always about a connection. Our society runs on who you know.
And connection can be as easy as, let me email, and I'll include you in the email and connect you to, and you go
Yes.
from there.
Perfect,
So it
absolutely.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
be-
I probably do 3 of those a day because we're talking about all of North America Central, and somebody radios in, I found someone who wants to do X. And I go, great, let me connect you. They don't know me, and they don't know who I'm connecting them with, but they want a connection. So they're happy to take that name and number and run with it.
Okay, last comment that we'll make on this, because we got a lot of other things. We got 20 minutes. We're not going to go over. There are things on Just Serve that are called remote projects. Remote projects could be something like...
Or virtual. They could be
yeah,
remote or
virtual. These are projects that youth can do, that somebody that's at home, that's homebound, that wants to be able to help serve. So look on Just Serve with the intent of finding those remote or virtual projects that that anybody can be anywhere and do. Okay, so Gina, let's pick the next thing.
How do you feel about how to motivate members in the community? Did we kind of cover that? I mean, we didn't do a deep dive, but you got it. How to work with overlapping boundaries? Are we good with collaborating? Calling each other? Just call each other. Not
Yep,
hard.
talk.
Okay. We did not do how to navigate the website. How to get people to look outward. That's a spiritual thing. That's spiritual motivation, your testimony. Rural areas and how to use Just Serve for disaster relief. Any ideas? Anyone ever done that? Okay, real quick. Do you know what VOAD is? Okay. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so VOAD is a connection to get into the community and find out what the resources are. As you know, Just Serve doesn't bring the shovels, they don't bring the water, they bring the muscles. We bring the people. That's all we got. It's our only resource. And VOAD's looking for people who have the muscles. So it's a connection, and the more people you know, the more opportunities you're going to have. So for example, with the flooding in the hurricane in the southeast area, they set up a disaster recovery page. All that is, if you are into the technology part, so really say presence, not you, it's just an organization page. And the name of the organization was Disaster Relief for Hurricane Milton. Okay, that's not a real organization, is it? We all know that's not it. But that's what the organization was, and then they attached every project they could with permission from the Red Cross, from all the relief organizations. So you could go to one page and see all the projects.
Can I give you some numbers that I put down because I'm going to be using them in our meeting?
Oh, you don't need it.
Last week, there were 12,000 members of the church that volunteered. They clocked 170,000 hours of service in 5,700 homes.
So that's huge. That's what we have the power to do if we connect correctly. So should you have a disaster, most likely it would be a tornado or a fire, flooding, I guess, too. Then you all get together, you talk to your friend Teresa. Teresa sets up an organization page with some name called, Relief from the Wildfires. And then we all get our projects posted on there with our connections. Hot Meals USA, they went down to the southeast area into Valdosta, Georgia. So Teresa would call Gina and say, hey, Hot Meals wants to go out of our area and they need help. I connected them with the area people in the southeast and they were off and running. They had 120 volunteers each meal to serve meals. Because of you guys.
In Nebraska, where I serve.
Yeah. So you can see how we're talking, it's all about communication, collaboration, coordination to get it done, Dennis.
Okay, so there used to be, prior to the cloud, there used to be it was a drop-down selection that you get for disasters, for disaster relief.
They don't do it anymore.
They don't do that anymore on Just Serve. Where does that show up now?
So now what happens is we make an organization page, and then I talk to Salt Lake and they'll put a banner on it so that it will show up in your area. So
it does show up on the Just Serve website?
it will show up for your area. So you will not see the southeast area.
Okay.
You're not going to see every disaster in the country. You're only going to see your area. So if there was a flood or a fire or a tornado and Teresa set up the organization page, we turned it into a disaster recovery area. It would show up when you log in with a banner saying, if you want help, here's where you go, to this page.
And I think
And it has a time limit, like when Teresa's like, okay, we're basically done.
Okay.
Then they take
But
that
yeah,
out.
but when we had the tornado over in Elkhorn, I think that was during our transition period. I never saw anything show up.
Yeah, and that is during the transition, nothing was happening. Because they literally took the disaster recovery page down and now they've recreated it with this organization page. But for a while, there was absolutely nothing you could do. But now you can.
I have a question that's off the subject.
You totally can ask it.
Are they ever going to put Life in the World under Just Serve?
Probably not, or giving machines. They don't merge. Those are other gifts that the church provides. Just like you probably won't see us merge with Family Search. While you could come up with Light the World themed projects or whatever, but they won't merge it so that we're having cross messages.
What we are including is some of those organizations that are part of the Giving Machine, Angel Serve, so they have a permanent projects going on. So not only the support comes from the Giving Machine, but also comes for other things that they will need moving forward.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome, and that's where, once again, we're back to collaborating and communicating and coordinating, because we're saying, here's an opportunity, if they're gonna be in the Giving Machine, let's have an ongoing relationship with them, and not just a one-time donation, but let's see what else we can give.
It's interesting. We sit in a meeting once a month with our area president, with the head of welfare and self-reliance, the head of communication, and every time we talk about a welfare and self-reliance donation, the area president, President Bennett, Randall K. Bennett, Elder Bennett, his first question is always, are we connecting Just Serve with that organization where we're making a donation? And so even if it's a food truck, even if whatever it is, he wants to ensure that we have an ongoing relationship where Just Serve it's not a one and done. We're not just rolling a food truck in, but that we are looking for ways to having an ongoing presence with them. And so that's very important.
The other thing I was gonna say on this isn't, we're not going to go through this today, but hot tip that a lot of people are not using. You know how I said I like to Google like 15 or 20 times a day? A lot of people think I am Google. Like they reach out 15 or 20 times a day. And so the Google for the website is the Help Center. Who's ever been to the Help Center? Okay, it's not the end all be all. I'm not saying that. But if you have admin rights at the state level, you just go to the Help Center. It might ask you to re-sign in, that's okay. go to the Help Center, and there's a search bar, just like Google, and you type in the most basic thing. You don't need to type in a whole sentence, but you could type in admin rights, or boundaries, or organization page. Because I have to do this because I forget. If you know how it is, if you don't do something a lot, you forget. I forget. You can just type it in the search bar, and every article and discussion on that will come up, and you can learn a lot. There's so many resources on there, and that's just if you did a search. But you can also look at the library and see promotional materials. Where do I get those? What is available to me? You can see how to work with organizations. You can see church organizations. You can see so many topics just by going to the Help Center. So I would highly recommend, if you are having trouble navigating the website, raise your hand if you have trouble navigating the website. Be proud. Come on now. I do all the time. I have questions. I mean, stuff I really should know.
The only people that don't have problems navigating the website are people that never go there. So anybody that goes there has...
When the website's broken, I know it's not using Just Serve. I don't hear from them. But if you go to the Help Center, that's like your first place to go, because you can find the workarounds, you can find so many great things. And you're welcome to email. I won't make fun of you, because probably I'm going to go to the Help Center to look at them. But you're welcome to email, reach out, and ask a question. You're welcome to do that. Your first line of defense, and this is going to scare Teresa, is if you can't, first, use your resources. Look in the Help Center. If you can't find it, ask Teresa.
And the good thing is, if I don't know it, I get to learn it too.
That's why
That's such a great attitude.
That's why I want you to ask Teresa, because that's how we learn. Because Teresa's going to call me, and I'm not going to know. So I'm going to look. And Teresa, you have Kirsten Farron, the tech specialist, that you can reach out to. But we're all in this together, and we're all learning this together. And I used to say, I don't have a modern day equivalent. I used to say it's like programming a VCR. It's not that hard, but you forget in between times how to do it. So I am not smarter than you. I just am going to Google more.
We're going to take Teresa to Salt Lake for some training in 3 weeks from today. She will know everything that there is to know.
No pressure, Teresa, no pressure.
Yeah.
She'll learn.
Okay, we have about 3 more minutes of questions, and then we'll wrap this up. Any other questions that you feel like are burning a hole in your heart and you really need the answer right now?
I just have a comment that have helped me when I'm talking to other people, is that there's an advisory council for Just Serve, and it's not just our church. And it's funny because a lot of people say, what? Do you have the Catholic service? I can't remember the name.
Catholic Charities.
Yeah, and you have
Red Cross.
Salvation Army.
And Salvation Army.
The head, the top people in these organizations.
Yeah, so it's like, this is all these groups coming together. What our church is doing is providing the network, the platform, all the engines for that.
And they
It's
are
not
literally
just
coming
us.
together.
Yeah.
It's not just a lip service. They actually meet in person 1 time a year and via Zoom.
That's in 2 weeks.
Time a year. Yeah, their in-person meeting is in 2 weeks.
Okay,
So-
that's a good point. And you can find that full list on the Just Serve website, and we encourage you to go look at it. And that's part of when we go out to organizations, we are having to do a little bit of introduction. We need to be able to share with them that the only value to Just Serve is when we increase the number of organizations participating. And so we want to be able to be ready to introduce to them a free resource that can do nothing but help them. There's no downside.
So in conclusion, I want to bear my testimony that this is the Lord's work. And the Lord wants His work to go forward. And as President Nelson says, anytime we do anything for anybody on this side of the veil or the other, we are gathering Israel. And I think that's key, that anytime, anyone. And I can promise you, and I've learned this through sad, happy experience, that when we do anything, make that phone call that you're scared to make. Send that email that you think you don't have time to send. The Lord will bless you. He will magnify your abilities. He's done it for me. He does it for me every single day. He loves you. He wants you to succeed. He wants this gift to go out to the community because he loves his children. So no matter what it is that you have to offer, he will take your little nugget and make it big. He will magnify every one of your abilities if you'll just do something, anything. He will do it. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
You know, one of the funnest things that Gina and I get to do, other than we get to work together as a team on this, is that once a month we send a report to, it goes up to lots of different channels in church headquarters. But it goes to our area presidency, and it goes to the head of Just Serve, which then trickles up to Elder Holland, the younger one, who's over all of communication. But we share with them success stories from the North America Central area for that month. And so as these stories come in from all of our specialists around the area, we start looking at and seeing the miracles that are taking place, the lives that are changing, the hearts that are being softened relative to feelings about the church, the good that's being done, the one that's being reached out to, the neighbors that are feeling the love of the Savior through service. And it's just wonderful to see the variety of types of projects. And sometimes it's not the 5,000 people went out and did something good. Sometimes it's the one person or the 4 or 5 people that went and completed a small and simple thing that made a difference. Just last month, we had two different Just Serve projects that painted churches of other denominations that could not get it done themselves. And through Just Serve, we went and served our neighbors by helping them improve their meeting facilities. The good covers such a variety of different things. And every single time we read those, we feel the Savior's love for his children. Thank you for carving out time out of your Saturday. But more importantly, thank you for your ongoing help and support of Just Serve, whether your role is a Just Serve specialist or whether your role is in a relief society or others. Thank you for what you're doing to increase this great and amazing work that's going and changing lives and helping others to feel our Savior's love. And I leave that with you in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Rachel, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, just a couple of things I wanted to say about that monthly report that they send up. That comes from us. You all have the ability to add to that monthly report. I usually send a note out to the communication directors and ask them, hey, is there anything that's happened in your state? And I'll drop some crickets. And just when you guys were talking, I thought I should send that out to you guys too. Just a reminder that we have the ability to record these things, and recording is a really important part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So take pictures. Make sure you write a little blurb about things that happen and send it up. We also do a quarterly newsletter that goes out to all the stake presidents and stake relief study presidents and our councils every quarter that just shares what's going on in our council, other things that are happening in other states. And that does a lot to lift the morale of, it helps to see that other people are doing things too and they're having success, and that the Lord's work is moving forward. Even if I'm stuck, and I felt stuck for 3 months, the Lord's work is still moving forward, and I will move forward too. So I will send those to you guys. Hopefully we can start just getting more and seeing more success. So another thing we have for you is we have a gift for each one of you. we have these fun Just Serve t-shirts. They are out on a table. We only have medium, large, and extra large, so please take one for yourself. But one thing we have to remember about Just Serve t-shirts, we want to avoid anybody looking at this Just Serve t-shirt and saying, oh, that's the Mormon church, right? Okay, so it's really tempting to say, let's order 500 of these and everybody, we're gonna pass them out at state conference and you wear them, right? So what I want you to think about is as you take one of these shirts, and you can take several if you would like, if you have people who you've just met with and who are excited about Just Serve, maybe the people at Lutheran Family Services, or maybe at New Visions Homeless Shelter who are excited about Just Serve, grab a t-shirt and ask them, would you like to wear this? This is for you. So that they can be advertisers for us. And then it doesn't look like just a church thing, like, oh, I know you're a member of the church because you're wearing one of those, right? So send them out into the community, grab a couple extra, and you guys can wear them proudly because you are Just Serve specialists. I wear mine proudly because I want to share with Just Serve. My boys who did a service project with us, we actually got these t-shirts like 3 years ago. My boys both took them on their missions and they would wear them on P-days. So take as many as you think that you need. We have several out there. We also have lunch out there, and it's going to be brought in as soon as we pray, and then you're welcome to stay for as long as you'd like and mingle and chat. So we are going to close with a closing prayer. Sister
Let's just see if President Melissa has anything he would like to conclude with, and any, as our priesthood leader here,
I did
any,
put on
yeah.
my agenda that I should have it right here that is on the agenda.
No, I am just so grateful for Chapel and the Coxes and all of you. And I know Elder Ames and our area presidency, if they were here, they would just express their love and appreciation for all the efforts that you do.
Thanks. All right, we will close with a closing prayer, Sister Marie Beck from the Council of Stake, and then we will eat.
Oh, dear kind Holy Father, how great